Hello everyone and welcome to episode 29 of the SATO Briefing series. Today we're going to be talking about mostly Flight Sim 2024, a little bit of P3D stuff thrown in there. So if anybody watched the last mini briefing, if you will, I went over some of the stuff that we found out about 2024 and the fact that there's no sort of plans for any sort of firefighting helicopter action in the sim at all right now, and the fixed wing stuff is pretty much non-existent. I mean, aside from the CL415 and the AT802 and stuff like that. So, in terms of the fixed wing stuff, doesn't seem like there's still any sort of change in that whatsoever. They're still working on Sim Update 3 at this particular time, and right now it's early June 2025. So Sim Update 3 is still in testing and all that. So I don't know what else they're gonna fix in that, but I'm hoping that they get something done with some of the aircraft issues because um, a lot of people, including myself, have been trying to get them to fix at least the 415's performance because if anybody's flown the 415, they know how underpowered the thing is. So, and from all of the previous research that I've done in the sim and comparing it to real life information, the 415 is performing at about 40% of its actual climb performance while it's loaded. So, in the sim, we've experimented and you get between 700, 750 at best case um, in terms of your climb rate, 750 feet per minute. In real life, the 415 has a climb rate of 1,300 feet per minute. That's while it's loaded. When it's unloaded, it has one closer to about 1,800 feet per minute. So we're talking this thing is way underperforming. So this explains why, in a lot of cases, in some of these difficult scooping locations in 2024, you have to jettison a lot of your water load in order to safely climb out of these areas and not cause engine damage to your airplane. So that's one of the huge things we're trying to get them to fix because you cause engine damage. Anybody knows, trying to fly in career mode or even just around a free flight, you'll notice that the engine RPMs go to red all the time and cause engine damage. So that is primarily because it's underperforming. So we're hopefully going to get that dealt with at some point. I don't know when. Granted, if they had unlocked all the files, for us to fix and change engine parameters and things like that, maybe it would be fixed a lot faster. But at this point, the sim's been out since November, and here it is, June, and it's still not even addressed, as far as I'm aware. It's not even been accepted as a known bug. So I don't know where their their focus is primarily in terms of fixing aircraft that have performance issues and things like that. But it doesn't seem like they're focused very much on the 415 at all, or at least any of the firefighting stuff yet, anyway. So in terms of helicopter stuff in 2024, as I kind of get back on track here, um, I was looking through now, like in contrast to what I was talking about in my mini briefing video last month, was there didn't seem to be any sort of setup at all for firefighting helicopters in the sim, at least in the SDK and everything. There was no sort of sign of it anywhere, like it had been taken out, or it didn't look like there was any sign of it whatsoever. However, in the last week, I was going through their virtual file system, which is how Microsoft and Asobo have put together the streaming system for 2024, as I understand it. But using in developer mode, looking at the virtual file system, I went through a bunch of files and come to find out that in the sim attachments folder, in that the stream files you have access to, they have a a, an attachment that is a Bambi bucket. So at some point during development of 2024, they knew they were going to add firefighting to helicopters, but why we don't have access to helicopters with those particular equipment on them, but we do everything else. Um, part of me goes, well, that's probably because there's no mission sets for firefighting helicopters, so they never gave helicopters like the H-125 or the 407, the Bell 407, the ability to have a configuration with a Bambi bucket on it, which is kind of irritating to me at the same time, but I know for a fact now that it's there in the sim. And I've tried to look at the attachment files and trying to change them to see if maybe I could somehow attach them to the stock aircraft in the sim. But unfortunately, the way that their streaming system is set up, you can't modify, it doesn't look like you can modify all the files to attach it to the helicopter to fly around with it on and create a preset that actually has them. Because if you're not familiar with the presets in Flight Sim 2024, there's all sorts of different parts of the aircraft that are modeled separately that you can do the attachments to. So, like the cargo hook has its own attachment model. The sprayer for I'm talking about like the H-125, for example. The sprayer has its own attachment model. The hoist, the rescue hoist, and passenger interior. Those are all separate attachment models that go into the helicopter or on the helicopter. So this preset, you can create one in theory, at least from what I've been able to research. You can attach stuff from the stock files included to the helicopters. Now, whether or not you can actually do that at this point, I haven't been able to figure that out yet because all the stuff I've been able to try and do myself hasn't worked. Doesn't mean that it's not possible right now. It very well might be. I'm just not familiar enough with this sim yet to figure out if that's at all possible. Um, but it looks like there's at least bits and pieces there, and it's kind of gotten me to the point where I'm trying to modify stuff to see if it'll work. Like I said, it's there, it's possible, but whether or not we can get it to work without a Sobo stepping in and actually doing it for us, whether or not that's possible or not, I don't know yet. This is just kind of like something that I found out like in the last, like I said, week. And I've tried messing around with it actually this evening to see if I could try and get it to work on the H125, and I couldn't get it to appear in the sim or in the file structures, even though I tried adding things and moving configuration files around and doing some coding, and it didn't seem to work. So I don't know. It's partially on me because I'm still not familiar enough with the sim, or just the way that it's structured at the moment. It's just not possible. But like I said, I keep saying it. The possibilities are there because the the model itself, the Bambi bucket, is there in the sim already. So uh, right now, that's kind of a good thing. But like I said, it's frustrating because it's like it's right there, like you can see it, but we don't have the ability to attach it, at least to me right now. Like I said, if somebody comes up down the line that's more familiar with the attachment system in 2024, can maybe do something and get it out to the community, that would be awesome because right now I haven't been able to figure out the combination of things to get it to work, if that's even possible. So but in the meantime, there are plenty of, or I shouldn't say plenty, there's modifications and third party assets out there now that are available that are pretty good quality that allow you to do firefighting missions with helicopters. So that means like the high performance, there was it, their H145 and H135. They have, you can do those. I think it's the Miltech CH47. You can attach the Bambi bucket to it at least. And then there's Taog's, I think it's Taog's Hangar UH1, which I just got. And as you can see here, this is one of the liveries and configurations that comes with it. Um, it's a fantastic model, and if anybody who is looking at a firefighting helicopter, um, I mean, the Huey is kind of iconic in firefighting, and this was actually the helicopter that used to be based at my home base at Hemet before they went to the new Firehawk that you see over here in the distance. But this helicopter is really good. and it's one of my first add-ons for 2024 that wasn't part of the game already. So I'm very happy with this helicopter, and there's plenty of reviews out there for it. So I'm not going to do that on this. I just wanted to say that I have it, and it's a great aircraft to fly around in, especially if you want firefighting stuff that works. And it's not a Bambi bucket. This does have the Bambi bucket option as a preset, so there's a configuration file in the cockpit where you can configure the helicopter how you want it. Plus, there's multiple different versions, including military versions. That, like I said, they've got civilian ones. They've also got a high skid version, and then, like I said, they've got you don't have to carry the 360 gallon tank on the bottom. They also have you can put the Bambi bucket on there if that's what your preferred configuration is. You can remove the doors, different types of configurations, mirrors, all kinds of stuff. So, and obviously the hose does come down in this, and you can siphon water into the tank. There's a little indicator on the dash, on the panel for the water. Um, so there's at least stuff that's out there in the third party department that is functional, and I kind of touched on that in the last mini video, and that's kind of where I was saying that that's kind of the only option we have right now, and this being a perfect example of that. There's good examples out there. Granted, you have to pay for them, um, but like there's still some options out there. Now, I want to thank the individual who actually gifted this for me for previous work I had done in some of the other Sims. This was actually a gift to me, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. And that person knows who they are, and if they're watching this, they thank you for that, because it was definitely worth a purchase. But that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of 2024 and helicopter stuff. So um, that's kind of what I wanted to focus this main one on, because like I said, unfortunately the fixed wing stuff, there's just nothing available, and what is available is, I keep saying, it's kind of lackluster in function. But in my tone, you can probably tell between this video and the last video, I'm a little bit more upbeat, because there's kind of some good news, I feel, even though maybe it's a little maybe premature in saying that, hey, maybe there's going to be some firefighting options for helicopters soon. So, at least in the stock game anyway. So after I did find this out, I did make a post in the official Microsoft forums, in their wish list forum, about implementing those stock configurations onto the helicopters. So there might not be any missions for them for firefighting, but being able to give us the ability to fly around and say free flight with a Bambi bucket on our helicopters, there's at least that option, because there's, like I said, third party editions like Aerofire Global, which is kind of like Firefighter X was for P3D and FSX. Those that had it are probably familiar with what I'm talking about. That's kind of a similar setup, so you can take aircraft that aren't necessarily set up for firefighting and drop water, retardant, whatever from it. Um, Stuff like that, that's our option for those firefighting missions. But like I said, if we had the ability to equip the H125 or the Bell 407 with at least the Bambi bucket, we could at least do some firefighting, at least missions, and our aircraft still looks like firefighting aircraft, and still be able to do those in free flight and use those third-party add-ons like I said, Aerofire Global. Um, that would be great, because um, we don't know when Microsoft is going to add them, or even get the mission sets, because the way that it looks right now, there's no talk at all from the official side of things about firefighting or fixing any of the stuff that they have. So I figure, or like I said, somebody sees this or the post in the forums, they might take a look at it and say, hey, I could probably solve that for the community, at least temporarily, if Microsoft isn't doing it um, in a fast enough manner, which at this point it kind of doesn't feel like they are. But um, yeah, so that's kind of where we are with that. So a little bit of a turn towards a little bit better, I guess, future looking forward than it was, say, when I did my last mini briefing last month. So, like I said, but in the meantime, for firefighting, there are stuff out there. Like I said, this is a perfect example in front of me here. Um, the third party is kind of our go-to kind of for that option right now, because like I said, Microsoft, it's a touchy thing. Because like I said, it's like being teased because we had that tease video in the trailer with the S64 Sky Crane, and now it's just a big orange paperweight in the game, and it's frustrating. And then now I found these stock Bambi buckets in the game, so that's like all this stuff is just sitting there, and it hasn't been implemented at all. So to me, it's just like it makes me chomping at the bit to get something going here, and it's just not it's not there yet. So in my opinion, it's like why would they put it there if they weren't planning on implementing it or leaving it there? So take that with a grain of salt. It's we don't know what's going to go on with it, but there is stuff there. It's not like it was completely taken out or like I was saying previously. So I kind of walk back that saying that there's no plan for it or there doesn't look like there was. It looks like there was or is. They just like I said, it's not. It's all in broken up still. There's no cohesive thing putting it together so that we can use it as a user. So um, I think that's all I've got really for 2024 right now. But in terms of P3D stuff, I am going to try and get back into doing some stuff for P3D because, like I said, we're still in a unknown kind of area for 2024. And in terms of development stuff for it, as I kind of put out already in the last few updates, including this one, there's just not much available in terms of being able to do anything for it. So, and that includes the S2. I know we've had some questions in the Discord server about the S2. The S2 is still in development, however, it's just in hold because of how 2024's development is. It's just not conducive for porting stuff directly from 2020 to 2024 in terms of animations and stuff like that. Not everything is there. So, and that's kind of where Jeremy is with the S2T. He's kind of like, I can't really do anything with it because you can't directly port it over to 2024 without having to redo all of the animations. And since it's I would say, it's pretty much a study level version of the S2T, um, that just the animation aspect of it is going to be time consuming. Not to mention if there's any other minute details that he has to change between the two sims. So that's kind of where we are with the S2T. Um, and as you can see here, I'm at him at Ryan scenery for 2020, but it's in 2024. And I'm going to be trying to help him with this as well, trying to do a 2024 version because there are some abnormalities between this scenery and 2024. So, or in 2024 rather. So it's not a direct port over, although it's, and at least from what I've been able to see, I would say it's probably 95% cross compatible to go over to 2024, at least the way I have it set up in the prototype setup currently. So, and I think I've done some videos previously, kind of showcasing some of the base itself. But in terms of like P3D, my P2 project that I have that I've been trying to work on, that's kind of in a holding pattern because the main part of that project is the interior, the gauges, and all that stuff that goes along with it. Because the exteriors, I would say, are mostly completed. It's just the interior we have to build completely from scratch, and as intricate as the inside is, um, I'm still relatively new to like detailed modeling like that. Most of my other works have been, pretty simple tanks and stuff like that, and trying to do all that intricate stuff and coding and learning all that stuff, it takes a lot of time. And I haven't been very successful in implementing a lot of that stuff where it's It's neat. It looks very. It's there in some cases, but it's not where I would personally like it as a release. I mean, granted, I could just do it and get it out there, but I'd like to at least have it more accurate looking than it is currently. Because right now I'm stuck on the P2V5 uh, cockpit because apparently nobody's ever done a P2V5 as far as I'm aware of in the modern sims like FSX or P3D, at least that I'm aware of. So there's hard to reference pictures and things like that for it, and trying to build it from scratch. So that's kind of a headache. Whenever I get to the P2V7s, again, I have to do that whole interior myself. But at least there's uh, other sim models out there that have been made for the P2V7. So referencing things of where they maybe did some things that I can probably implement, and stuff like that is a little bit easier. But right now, the P2V is kind of in a holding pattern until I can devote a lot of extra time to it. Because in the last month or so, between personal stuff and just trying to get used to all the stuff in 2024 and what type of stuff was available and trying to get Microsoft's case about fixing some of this stuff, that's kind of where most of my uh, time has been, along with enjoying the new sim. Because when I get head deep into development stuff, uh, I tend to not fly for for the enjoyment of it. I do all the flying I do is in development terms, so it's testing stuff, testing liveries, testing flight dynamics changes, and just flying around and putting fires out virtually. I hadn't done that for so long, so me just flying around in like this UH1, just doing basic sightseeing stuff, and testing out the functions and stuff like that, and it's been fun. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Sort of a break, and then I'm also, like I said, still getting familiar with all the little intricacies of this simulator. In retrospect, after getting into 2024, I thought I should have gotten 2020 just to get used to the differences in this sim versus, say, the legacy sims like FSX and P3D. Because FSX and P3D are so similar, there's a lot of interchangeability, and the jump between P3D to this sim is just a whole night and day difference. I felt a little more blindsided by looking at how this sim is compared to P3D was. So, like I said, learning curve. But so yeah, without me rambling on and making this video any longer than it is, um, that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to do a briefing on. Just kind of what we're looking at in terms of firefighting in 2024. I'm not, like I said, I'm going to try and get back into doing more stuff for P3D in the meantime here soon. I don't know how soon that's going to be, um, but I am going to try and pick up development stuff for P3D again, just because it's been a while since I put anything out, and there have been some requests for some stuff, and I do need to get back into it. But yeah, thanks for watching, and tune into the next one.